I'm going to say the date, which is, I think it's August the 29th, 2003.
You're going to what?
I'm just saying the date now, today. And I'm talking to Grace, and we're in Whitney, in Newland House. Is
And
that
I
right?
what?
I am just talking to you,
Yeah,
and I am Joe, and I'm talking to Grace.
yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to ask you first how old you are.
I'm 94.
94. That's
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. And you used to work at Weald Manor,
Yes, I did.
and you worked for Mrs. Colville.
That's right, yes.
Can you remember how long ago that was? What year was that you started?
Well, I was there 8.5 years,
Yes.
and I left in 1975.
Did you? And what was your job?
Well, I was really there to be with Mrs. Colville
Yes.
because they hadn't anyone to stay with Mrs. Colville while Robert was out a lot.
Yeah.
The person that was there had left with
Tuberculosis.
this
Yes.
illness,
Yes.
and they got a lot of day workers now,
Mm.
but they wanted someone to live in and be with Mrs. Colville.
So you were a sort of companion.
That's right.
Yes. And how many other staff did they have at that time?
Well, I can't remember, but there were a lot of dailies,
Yes.
and they had Anne was the cook.
That's Anne Shergold.
That's right.
Yes, I know her very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she married Francis, the
Yeah.
gardener,
Yes. Yes. And they're still
Mm.
together.
and she used to come in and cook,
Yes.
and she used to leave something for the evening meal.
Yes.
So I used to help Mrs. Colville in the evening change,
Yes.
and she came down and I served them with the meal.
So did she dress for dinner
Yes,
every evening?
every evening.
And what did she wear? Did she wear an evening dress?
Well, yes, she used to wear evening things, yes.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yes. And did they have parties then?
Oh, they had lots of parties, they entertained a lot. And, do you know Weald Manor?
Yes, I do. I just talked to Robert about a week ago.
Yeah,
Yes. And we talked about his days at school when he was very young.
he's,
We talked about when he was at school, when he
Yeah.
was very young.
Yeah.
Yes. But he didn't tell me about the parties. So how many people came to the parties?
well, they've got a studio there
Yes.
that used to lead, their drawing room was upstairs, and at the end of the room there was a stairs that used to lead down into the studio.
Yes.
And they used to have dances
Did they?
and parties, all sorts of parties,
Yes.
and house groups, you know.
Yes. So house parties where people stayed.
Pardon?
People stayed the night as well, did they?
Not then, no.
No.
But they used to have a house party for badminton. They used to
Oh,
fill
yes.
the house.
Yeah.
Badminton.
Yes.
His relations came, and then they used to come back and they had a big dinner party then.
Yes. Yes.
But they did a lot of entertaining,
Yes.
really.
She was a very keen horsewoman, wasn't she?
She was,
Yes.
and she used to ride side saddle.
Did she?
Yeah.
Always.
Yes.
Did she? Yes. Yes. How many horses did they have?
Oh, I don't know. That wasn't in my time.
Oh, right.
But
That
you
was
see,
earlier.
One time, she had a groom.
Yes. I
And
think that was Francis. I think that was I think that was Francis Shergold, was one of the grooms. Francis Shergold, Anne's husband.
He was the gardener.
I think sometimes he was the groom as well, he tells
He was
me.
a batman to
Oh,
Major Culver during the war.
was he? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
And what was I going to say?
I think we were talking about the servants, how many people there were looking after the house.
Well, we used to have dailies, you see, that used to come, and there used to be someone that used to relieve Anne,
Yes.
you know, when it was Anne's time off. Her husband used to be a chauffeur
Uh-huh.
in those days.
Yes.
He used to be a head gardener, chauffeur, and grooms, all that sort of thing.
And did they have bands? Did a band come and play to them?
But when they had the dances, yes,
Did
and
they?
the bar,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And
It
they've
must have
got
been lovely.
A billiard room,
Yes.
billiard table
Yes.
with a all round, you know, you could look over
Oh, a balcony.
balcony.
That
right.
is still there. Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And it was lovely.
Yes.
You could look over.
Yes. And where did you live? Did you live there?
Well, when I first went there, one end of the house, there was a Mrs. Birch, and she had one end, and she was, her husband had been the vicar,
Yes.
and she was a great friend to Mrs. Colville. And I'd only been there a week when she died.
Oh dear.
But before that, I was upstairs in the staff quarters, because there's all staff quarters and bathrooms upstairs and all that sort of thing. I was upstairs there. And then after she died and they cleared her room, they said they'd like me downstairs in her room.
Yes.
So I moved downstairs into her room, and there was a back door where there were some stairs that led up into the all the rooms round.
Yes.
And this room led into mine, and I had a little kitchen up there and a sink and my own bedroom
Yes.
and wash basin.
Yes.
But I used to have to go upstairs to the bathroom, you know,
Yes.
to go upstairs,
Yes.
because there was one downstairs that Robert used.
It sounds very nice.
It was very nice.
Yes.
But
And what was your jobs during the day? What did you
well,
do?
it started off very easy,
Yes.
but because I was free from 2 till 6 every day.
Yes.
But I knew Anne because Anne was a nanny in Bampton. She looked after Princess Galitzine. And I was a temporary nanny. I used to do a lot of temporary work.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to Anne one day, I said, I'm very tired of living in a suitcase
Yes.
because it's backwards and forwards. Well, she said, I suppose you wouldn't like to change your job. So she spoke to Mrs. Colville.
Mm.
I was out at a place between Letchlade and Fairford with
Yes.
the Peel family, you know, the millionaires doing,
Oh yes. Yes.
doing work there, you know, as temporary.
Yes.
And I had a letter from her, And she said, would I like to consider going to her and have an interview? Well, I thought I would. So, and I started after Christmas because I had a brother who was working in the oil fields in Qatar, in Iraq,
Oh, yes.
and he was home on leave. And I said, I can't start until after Christmas, so I started after Christmas.
And what did you do then when you started working for her?
I was really at a loose end quite a bit, but
Yeah.
knowing Anne, I used to go in and I gave Anne a help,
Yes. In the kitchen.
and in the kitchen, you know, used to the company,
Mm.
and then I had meals in the kitchen with Anne and Francis,
Yes.
and I used to do the linen and clean the silver.
So you were ironing the linen, were you?
Well, no, it went to laundry,
I went to the laundry. So you were
Yes.
putting it away?
but when it came back, you know, I used to do sort the laundry out
Ah.
and put it away,
Yes.
and I used to see to the china,
Yes.
you know, look after sort of a lot of china,
Yes.
and used to turn covers out.
Yes.
And,
What were your favourite things there?
well,
What were your favourite things to do? What did you enjoy doing the most?
well, it got very hard in the end because Mrs. Colville had a slight stroke,
Yes.
and you know, she needed a lot of help and care,
Yes.
and I did quite a lot for her then. And you know, she used to say, she used to kneel down and say her prayers
Did
and
she?
stop getting up.
Did she?
And I said to her, Mrs. Colville, you can say your prayers in bed. God listens to them in bed just the same.
Did she take notice of that?
Yes, she did.
Well
and she
done.
Said, oh, Grace, she said, I can't remember the Lord's Prayer, so there was me dictating the Lord's Prayer to her.
Yes.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Yes. But you must have been a very big comfort to
But-
her.
Really, she had another stroke,
Yes.
and then she had several strokes,
Yes.
and in the end they had to have night staff and day nurses
Yes.
to look after her.
Mm.
She died when she was 90,
Yes.
and I was left a cottage in Aston by my mother,
Yes.
which she didn't. She lived at the post office, and she didn't want the cottage, so she let it to the Air Force, you know,
Yes.
Bryce Norton. Americans were there then. And when my mother died, she left it to me, so I let it to Americans the same. Now after she died, Major Colville said to me, Grace, he said, if you like to stay on for the winter and stay here till March and sort all the linen out and help with Mrs. Colville's clothes, so she had all the riding things and
Yes.
the christening things
Did she?
and
Yes.
all that sort of
They must have
thing.
been very beautiful clothes.
And, so I was there through the winter,
Mm.
but you knew he got married.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well, I've got some photographs of his wedding.
Have you?
Yes, it's there, Janet, on the top, the blue one.
I would love to borrow that. Would you let me borrow it, and I would give it to Janet to bring back? That would be lovely. Shall we have a look in a minute, Janet? Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, just a minute.
we'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk a little bit more and then we'll look at those. All right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about her clothes. When she dressed for a party, what was that like? Can you remember them? Because I think
Well,
the
she
clothes...
had some very nice clothes,
Yes.
but I had to get used to putting her earrings in,
Yes.
and I'd never done that before.
Yes.
You know, how to dress her
Yes.
and things like that.
Yes.
And one day when I got back, you know, they used to put the tea trolley ready, and Major Coffee used to make the tea and then push it in the kitchen. And when I got back at 6 o'clock, I used to do that to tea.
Yes.
And then I used to see to Mrs. Colville and dress her.
Yes.
And she was looking in this black box one day. And when I got back, and I said, "Oh, there's a gold watch there, Mrs. Colville." And she said, "Oh, great," she said, "that's what the boys gave me." And it was a gold watch with a written on the back and a gold bracelet. And she said, you know, with the insurance money, she bought another watch.
Yes.
And she said, when I was dressing her, she said, "Grace," she said, "I want you to have one of my watches
Yes.
when anything happens to me."
Yes.
But she said, "Anne's been with me longest, so Anne will have the choice."
Yes.
So Anne had the gold one, of course.
Yes.
But when she died, Major Carver couldn't find it.
Oh dear.
But she
Dear.
was always losing things, Mrs. Carver.
Yes.
And one Sunday he came to me and he said, "Oh, here's your watch, Grace." It was in the desk right at the back.
Yes.
Well, one day I wanted it cleaned, and they said they valued it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't clean it because it was so valuable.
Oh dear. Yes.
It was about £500, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And they wanted about £70 to clean it, so I said, "Oh, carry on."
Yes.
So I've still got
You
her
still
watch,
got it. That's lovely.
but not the bracelet, you know, about to have
Yes.
the bracelet.
Yes. But that's a lovely souvenir of her.
Pardon?
That's a lovely souvenir
Yeah.
of her, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, she left us all money.
Did she?
Yes.
So she was very kind.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And they used to have, well, they had a cottage at the bottom, you know, what they call it, entrance cottage.
Yes, I know.
A lodge.
A lodge at the gate.
That's right.
Yes.
And most of the staff had houses belonging to the Colvilles.
Yes.
And Anne and Francis still live in one of their houses,
Yes.
rent-free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I still see them.
Do you?
Francis walks to the village every morning,
Yeah,
and sometimes Anne does as well. They're doing very well.
yeah.
Yes.
But
Marvellous.
she's a little bit older than me.
Yes. Yes.
But we've always kept in touch.
Yes. Does she come to see you sometimes?
No, they came once,
Yes.
and my eyes are so bad that I didn't recognise them at first. And she said to me, "Oh, you used to be with Mrs. Colville," and I said, "Oh yes, you're Anne, you're Francis."
Yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps I should bring them in again. Would you like to
No.
see them?
Well, yes and no, because,
Yes and no. All right.
you know, it's a bit of an effort with me now.
Yes, because of
No.
hearing.
Well, in my eyes,
Yes.
and I've got this stomach trouble
Oh
this
dear.
last few days.
Oh dear. Oh dear. But it's been very, very nice talking to you.
After
It's been-
the skating parties.
Yes.
And you live in Bampton?
Yes, I do.
Mm.
I don't know if you'll remember a little cottage called Sandford Cottage by
Oh.
Sandford Field. You probably don't remember. But tell me something else. There's a lake in the garden,
Oh,
isn't
that's
there, at Mrs.
Yeah.
Colville's house? And sometimes it froze. Sometimes it was frozen.
That's right.
And did they have parties then?
No, but they used to skate on it,
Did they?
but not in my town.
Oh, that was
But
early.
they had a bowling green
Yes.
that the village had,
Oh,
and then they had a tennis court, a hard one and a soft one.
yes.
But they had their own cows, Jersey cows. And they used to have milk and cream and eggs,
Yeah.
you know, from the Jersey cows.
Mm.
And then the sheds, everything got old. Mrs. Colville used to keep bees.
Yeah.
She was very fond of her bees, but she couldn't, you know, cope with those in the end.
Mm. Mm.
You know, she had to get rid of her bees.
Yes. Yes.
And her driving got very bad.
Oh dear.
by the time. You know, she was very unsafe on the road. She didn't like giving up her car.
How old was she when she stopped driving?
Oh, I don't remember.
No.
But she didn't like giving up.
Yes. Yes.
And the maintenance man, there was a maintenance man that used to cut the lawns,
Yes.
and he did driving for her.
Yes.
And she had her own tailor from London that used to come and make her clothes,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. She had a very nice life, didn't she?
Oh yes.
Yes.
She did a lot for the village.
I agree, and so has
And
he.
she was very generous.
Yes.
And she worked for the church and the Conservatives,
Yes.
and she was very generous.
Yes.
When Robert married, I was very sorry, but Rosemary has carried on just the same.
Mm. Yes.
You know, she works for the village.
Yes,
and
she
does
does.
an awful lot.
She does. Yes. They're very good people.
Oh yeah,
Very good
Yes,
village
she-
people.
yeah.
Yes.
They've got a son and a daughter,
Yes.
but she has always said she'd come and see me sometimes, but she hasn't been.
I will be seeing her, and I shall tell her that I've seen you.
Yes.
I
will
will
you?
tell. Yes,
Yeah.
I will. I will.
Yes.
Shall we look at the photographs now? This is a great privilege.
I don't know, I've been
I
having
have to
to
get
see
my
these.
glasses on. Oh goodness me.
That's Robert
Yes.
and Rosemary, and that's his brother.
John.
He's died,
Yes.
John.
Yes. And these two?
Yes, the bridesmaid.
The bridesmaids. And this is Rosemary.
And there was a lady that used to come when it's my day off,
Yes.
and she used to bath Mrs. Colville and look after her.
Yes.
And she used to do that. I had a weekend once a month, and she was in charge of Mrs. Colville that day.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Yeah, that's some of the staff. I can't see very well.
Yes. I
And
don't.
that's some of the staff.
Yes. I don't recognise them.
Her husband was one of the chauffeurs.
Here we are at Weald Manor.
That's Weald Manor. That was my bedroom scene.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
That's their going away.
Yes.
You know, he's putting it away.
Yes.
That's Jenkinson, Molly, and Howard Jenkinson.
You turn over. Oh no, it's it. That's
Oh,
that's
mhm.
Weald Manor House
That's
too,
it.
isn't it? I
Yeah.
can't see any of Francis or Anne there. Or Roy.
There's Mrs. Colville,
Oh yes. Yes.
and that's staff. We had a minibus,
Yes.
and yeah, and that's another one. Weald Manor. Now that's in the garden at the back. They also have the the Morris dancers.
Yes. They still do. They still do.
And there he is cutting the cake
Yes.
with a sword. That's me.
Fantastic. That is
Yeah.
lovely picture.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Thank you very much for showing me
Well,
those. We could.
I was sitting out.
Who's that?
That's Andrew.
That's Andrew.
That's my
That's-
father.
Is it?
Janet's father,
Yes.
me at Portland.
Yes.
I cleared a lot out last
Did you?
night, yesterday afternoon,
Did you?
when I was here throwing them out.
This is
Oh, that's me getting married.
right.
That's my cottage. And
Yes.
that's George.
I have a porch like that.
Yes, well, you wouldn't do it
Very
now.
traditional.
In Ireland.
Yes.
There's little Gwen,
Little one.
little Gwen Lowman.
Yes.
She was a little dwarf, lived at Brighton.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Shall we press the button?